Welcome to the Fantasy Happy Hour. Fantasy Happy Hour. Presented by Sportsneak. With your hosts, Justin Sauce and Terrylicious. Starting in 3, 2, 1.
Let's go. As you guys can see, I am the one who is stuck with the clown outfit after that showdown. A little bit embarrassing, obviously. My team got smoked. We'll put up the final score eventually somewhere on the screen here from last week, so down in the comments. But I need redemption. So I am the one wearing the clown outfit this week. Tarin, for when you lose, you might have to buy a clown outfit. Maybe that should be the regular thing, and then we'll add a little spicer up.
Yeah. I think next week, let's literally spice it up. We'll do a little hot challenge, something. We'll get a chip or something, a spicy chip. You got to eat it just before the episode.
Yeah, but maybe we should be adding the clown outfit for even with it, you know?
Yeah, I agree. I'm down for that.
So as you guys can see, this is what you get for making bad football picks. But yeah, we'll just jump into some Sunday slate here. I'll pop in right off the top. Hopefully we have no overlap, or actually, well, I don't know how we'll distinguish tie, maybe the Monday nighter or something. But going into this one here, I'm going where I'm playing it safe a little bit. I'm going with some of my picks from not in the Fantasy Happy Hour, but some of my DraftKings picks. And I'm shooting it over to Tom Brady.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, Tom has been on fire. I think he threw 4 passing TDs last game. He's putting up an average of 31.4 points per game. He is on fire. This guy's he's going to play till he's 50. That's what he's saying.
That's what he says, yeah.
And he's got weapons out there. So I'm taking a little bit from your overreaction here and going with TB12 and the gang down in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I hope you're stacking them deeper, but yeah, I tried to be a little less overpriced this week with my picks. So I actually tried to cheapen the board. I didn't cheapen it in every department, but I did cheapen it in some. But I started my QB with a guy who came off a great Thursday night football performance, and that's Daniel Jones. Oh, look out.
I didn't even finish it all.
Yeah, but coming off an awesome Thursday night football performance, Daniel Jones kind of crushed the Washington football team. He had a great PFF grade. And he's up against the Falcons this week, who don't present much of a challenge. And on that note, Tom Brady destroyed the Atlanta Falcons for 5 touchdowns last week. Daniel Jones rushed a TD in both games, and he just missed 100 yards last week by 5 yards. This is a cake matchup, so I think going to Daniel Jones is just an awesome play this week. Watching Justin drink this beer is also an awesome play this week, but I'll keep rolling through as he's attempting to chug this off the big loss last week. And go to my running back, and I'm doing a little hometown bias in my running back pick. This ain't the cheap option in my lineup, but I think he's underpriced overall, and that's Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook is feasting this year. Awesome workload. He's seeing about 30 touches. And this is a reaction play. And I overreacted there on Monday, but I'm reacting to Seattle getting crushed by Derrick Henry. And I'm going to say they're going to get crushed by Dalvin Cook this week. And, Derrick Henry went for 182 and 3 touchdowns last week. But Dalvin's averaging 20.6 DK points, 26 touches a game. Workloads there, passing, running, whether they're losing, winning. I think this is just a great play. And I think he's underpriced at 8,400. I mean, DraftKings usually prices these guys way up, and 8,400 is pretty cheap for Dalvin Cook. So that's where I went at running back. But how was that beer, Justin?
That was tough. It shouldn't take me 3 attempts to get that down, but, it's late on a Monday, so I'll give myself a little bit of an excuse here. But yeah, I'll dive into my running back here. I'm going a little bit where I'm not as comfortable, but I'm going off a little bit of hype from last week, and I'm going over to Najee Harris in Pittsburgh. He's priced at $6,600. Not a lot of yards last week, 43 yards. I was kind of, originally when I was looking to pick a running back, I was hoping to get someone, in the 65, 70 range. But 43 yards, TD, nice TD too at that.
Yeah.
And that Pittsburgh team is looking pretty damn good. they got a few weapons that I like. So it was a, I have a few options at running back, but that's where I think I'm going to land this week. Going over to wide receiver though, I have to, give it back over to my play call here and go to Mike Evans. You thought I was going to Gronkowski.
I did, yeah.
I debated it. I wanted to, but I mean, Mike Evans, him and Tom Brady are putting up some decent numbers. He's only averaging 15 fantasy points per game because that first one was quite low. In week one, he only had 5.4, but then he bounced back 24.5 last week. 5 receptions, 75 yards, 2 TDs. So I think they keep making some magic here. I mean, it is him and Gronk, by the way, that are got the TDs this past week. So that's where I'm going over to wide receiver here. What about yourself, Tarin?
Yeah, I'll note a few things. Evans caught 2 last week too, so that was awesome to see. And then Najee Harris also been playing close to 100% of the snaps, so great pick because when you're playing that much, opportunities there, which is huge. But if you go wide receiver here, I went real cheap. I tried to be a little different, and I went to my Vegas bias here. I really love this team in Vegas, but I didn't go to their 2 top options. I went to Hunter Renfrew at 4K. I thought this was a great price. I really like him and Edwards on that team as secondary option, but I think Hunter Renfrew in this matchup against Miami is really solid. Miami's been giving it up a lot to the slot guys, and specifically that would mean usually you want to go to Darren Waller here because he's going to play the middle of the field, but I think he's going to be high owned and high priced, whereas Hunter Renfrew at 4K, great option. He has 16 targets through 2 games with Derek Carr, 127 yards on 11 receptions, but no TDs. Get him in the end zone. He's going to put up close to 20 points here at 4K and on the kind of progression route he's going. So I think that's just a great cheap option for everybody. And I think that's going to take me to another victory this week, but it's besides the point. So I'm going to move over to tight end. And since you didn't do a Gronk stack, I'm actually going to stack with my quarterback. And I went to Evan Engram with the caveat that if he's hurt, I get Kyle Rudolph in a competition because they expect Evan Engram to be back there in the New York Giants. I mean, he's been practicing as of Monday full. So I think it's going to be his first game of the season, comes back into that Daniel Jones offense, and Daniel Jones looks really good. Gets Atlanta, who just gave up 2 TDs to Gronk, and I think it was 49 yards. And then in week 1, Goddard and Ertz both had great games, so they really give it up in the middle of the field. So I went Evan Engram. He's questionable right now, but I'm hoping he plays and leads me to a victory. But if you're not going Gronk, where are you going, Justin?
I'm using my salary, and I'm going to spend a little bit more at tight end, and I'm going right to where you were going with Darren Waller. $7,300, $7,400. They're playing Miami. Miami got stomped last week, and that's a tough game to recover from. I'm sure they won't get shut out again, but with Tua out, I think Vegas kind of walks all over them. I mean, we saw Darren, he had a quieter week this past week, 11.5 fantasy points, but the week before 29.5, still 65 yards on his 5 receptions. He gets the TD in the mix here and a couple more receptions, and I'm more than happy with this pick. There's some other great tight end picks out there. He's definitely higher tiered, but when you can fit him in the budget, that's what you do. But going over to my defense, special teams, my crooked clownos here, I'm gonna have to stick with my cadence here, and I'm going with the Steelers. They're playing Cincy. We saw Joe Burrow throw up 3 picks in a row last week. Pittsburgh's defense is looking deadly. They're just stacking fantasy points with their sacks and the turnovers there. I mean, for the extra $700 on defense special teams, that's just what you got to do sometimes, is pick the teams that are producing. And, I just don't see Cincy walking all over them.
No, I don't either, which is why we matched each other once again this week. I picked the Steelers as well. The only thing I'll say is I text Justin last week and I asked him if Burrow kept like throwing the ball to the other team, because every time they got the ball, it just seemed like he was throwing it to the other team for a bit. And then in garbage time, the guy comes and puts up like 2 TDs in the last like 10 minutes. But, Pittsburgh's D looks good. I hope Watt's back. He was out a little bit for half that last game. But I think just a great matchup for the Steelers defense. It's not going to win us against each other here, but I think it's just a great pick in DFS. And if you look low, it was really tough to pick a defense under 3K. I had a hard time, so that's why I ended up going up too. But move over to our pick of the night, Fantasy Happy Hour special. I went to a running back to kind of match up with my other running back at 7,200, Austin Eckler. LA Chargers get Kansas City this week. He's averaging about 17 fantasy points per game, and he's not like playing the majority of the snaps, which is kind of nice to see. He's getting that many fantasy points off kind of minimal workload. He's not playing the full complement. Very efficient though. Like he was running 16-yard runs, 12-yard runs pretty consistently there last week against the Vikings. And past game work raises his floor, and he's the guy on every down. So I think that works well for Eckler. If they're losing, they're winning. He's kind of getting all that play. I think this will be high scoring. Casey got killed on the ground there in Sunday night, mixing up the days. But Lamar Jackson went over 100. Tyson Williams went over. Each running back had a touchdown, I think. It was pretty nuts on the ground there. So Casey's giving it up, but they keep the game close. So you're always going to see more and more work, especially in the passing game. And that's where Eckler really makes his bank. So I think that's a great play. And that's where I went on my fantasy hour special. And I mixed up who they played last week. Guarantee that. That's wrong.
All right. I'm going back to the old faithful for my fantasy happy hour pick. We're going back to Houston, except not Houston. We're going over to Miami for Will Fuller. He's making his debut this week in the aqua, teal, and orange. Week 1 missed due to the suspension from the roids last year. Last week missed due to personal injury or personal reasons, but he's making the debut, confirmed today. He's priced at DraftKings 4,700 points. I know they don't got, or $4,700, sorry. Without Tua, obviously, that's going to hurt a little bit, but that's just a weapon right there for the QB to use. Will Fuller is speedy. We know he can get TDs. We know he can put up big yards. And, he might be off people's minds right now because he's not been in action the first few weeks, and he was suspended last few games last year. So that's my fantasy happy hour special for the week 3 Sunday slate here. Anything else you want to add in there, Tarin?
No. They played the Cowboys, just to correct myself on Eckler. But overall, this week looks pretty interesting. Again, watch that late afternoon set of games. Last week, the mornings were a bit snoozy, and then the afternoon really blew up. So, keep your mind out for them afternoon games.
Perfect. Well, in that case, thanks for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully next week I'm not wearing the clown outfit. We'll see if hopefully I'll get the dub here, because I also do not want to eat any sort of spicy food. So in that case, give us a like, give us a comment who you're picking, who you want to win, and subscribe. It would really help us out.
Subscribe and like for more sports content from your favorite Canadians.